Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh and I sell books, CDs, DVDs full-time on eBay and Amazon. Now I used to sell a lot of other stuff on eBay and I still have a lot of it listed in the store. What we're going to be doing today is we're actually going to be going through my two storage units and I'm going to be showing you how I keep everything stored and organized. I currently have, I just looked and I should remember this. It was like 13,730 some listings. A lot of those have quantity, and if we look at the quantity, we're actually at 14,990 items, which that blew my mind that it was so far. A lot of the quantity is things like this, like lots of 100 loose disc, like stuff like that. You know, I got quantity of like 10 or 12, and there's lots of instances like that where we've got quantity of like 10 or so, but not huge quantities. But anyways, we're going to be going through the storage unit, showing you how I keep everything stored. Now keep in mind, a lot of the ways I have taken to store these things works good for me because I'm able to just like drop off a whole box of books here and they've already got a SKU on them. I do not want to have to re-SKU things once I get here because I'm not at the storage unit to put SKUs on it, okay? I would do things differently if I was listing right next to my storage area. I might like have a shelf and just put a whole bunch of books on the shelf and call this shelf A. But I can't really do that here because when I'm at home listing, I wouldn't know what SKUs to put on them. So because of that, I need new SKUs that I'm making at home. That way I'm not refilling old boxes or shelves or whatever it is. I hope that makes sense, and I'll explain that more as I'm going through the storage unit. So keep that in mind. I would do things slightly differently, actually quite a bit differently, if I didn't have a storage unit that was like 10 minutes from the house. And I'm not here every day. I come here 3 days a week to pick up stuff to sell. So I'm just gonna start showing you. Some of these are legacy ways of storing things that I no longer do. Some of these are ways I'm currently using, and I will be talking about this. But we have, 13,700 listings, almost 15,000 items stored here. So in 2 units, these are 10 by 10 units. Also, I'm gonna put links to all the supplies I use down below in case you are wanting to check those out. That does help the channel out if you use the majority of those links. Some of those links don't help me, but some of them do. But anyways, let's show you what we got. All right, so we're gonna start general layout of the unit. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 shelves. The shelves I use, I get from Walmart. These are 16 by 48 by 72, and they come with 5 shelves. A lot of the shelves, especially these ones in the middle, I've added an extra shelf onto them. Look, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done that either by buying an extra shelf and just taking them out, or one time I even found on Facebook Marketplace, somebody just selling a whole bunch of the shelves by themselves without the actual upright supports. So that is some things to keep in mind. So we're gonna start by explaining the totes, which are on the 2 ends on the shelf. So the totes, I used to just have them all numbered, A1 through 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was originally what I had before. Sometimes I would go to 10 and put 2 on the top, but the top shelf, it's the hardest to deal with in the whole unit. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. So I used to just kind of bring stuff here, top it off, and then have to add the SKU later after I'd listed the item once I'd got it to storage. Now what I do is I'm going to fill up a new tote every time I'm bringing stuff inside totes to the unit. So this is A21, brand new tote we made last week. Everything that is in here on the custom SKU field on eBay has A21 listed into it. Now, this is eventually going to sell down and be like half full or even less. At that point, we will then take it and combine it with another tote. I have another A21. Oh, this is not A21. The other side has the actual SKU on it. I need to take that old label off. I think this is A25. But anyways, you get the point. I'm going to combine it into another tote at some point and then write 21 on it. That's why this is dangerous. I got A21 on one side, A25 on the other. I need to take the 21 off because I previously used that tote for 21. Anyways, I will eventually combine it into these other totes once they sell down and get lower. So all the A's, if it's A, it's going to be on this shelf. You usually find it fairly quickly. All the, I think C's are on that shelf over here. B totes are on this shelf. and D totes are on the back shelf. I'm sure you're already seeing other things like these magazines, totes, and this other stuff. We will talk about that here in a minute. But these totes are what I use for like mostly my non-media stuff. I do not list near as much non-media anymore, but we got random things like teddy bears, tennis rackets. We do have a random CD in here for some reason. We have a postal scale in here, but I also will sometimes use it for lots. Like I got some lots of video games right here. There's a little book lot down there. Just miscellaneous things inside of the totes. That's what these are used for. Also, a lot of my lots will go inside of them, but they get really heavy if you just fill them up with books. So I try not to do that. But this one, you know, we got trains, we got CDs, we got maps, we got all sorts of stuff. We got books, you know, a little bit of everything. But anyways, I'm gonna go down to the other unit and talk through our storage of individual books, because it's going to be easier to talk about in the other unit. So let's go down there. All right, unit number 2 is kind of a mess at the back. We need to clean that up. It's a mess here in the front. It's overflowing right now. The reason it's overflowing is it's currently the end of December, and usually in January I will go through and clear out some space. So I've just been kind of piling it up instead of doing the normal little bits of organization I need to do. But anyways, let's talk about books, how I am typically storing books. I'm typically putting them in these types of boxes. These are the boxes that printer paper comes in. I have a good supply of these, and we're just going to be labeling them. Here's 31, here's 131, excuse me, 132, 131, 129. 130 is not here because it's probably been combined with another tote, another box, because it's sold down. Now, I put all sorts of different media in here. We've got DVDs, we got books. I'm sure we got CDs here if we look around. Somewhere, yeah, in the back of that one's got CDs. All sorts of media goes inside of these. As they sell down, once it gets about halfway empty, we will combine it with another one, and that's what we are doing. I used to top these off, which is why I only have like 140 of them in here right now. I used to top them off, but I found it is so much easier just to put the SKU on front. Everything in the new box gets that SKU, and then I'm going to combine them down later on. That does take time to condense them, but it takes less time than having to give everything a SKU once we get to the unit. Now, the unit is currently overflowing. We got stuff not even on shelves. We got it on carts, all sorts of stuff, but we're trying our best to keep it in order. It will eventually, you know, go all the way. The boxes will slowly go through here. You know, we're down to 97 over here. We've got more of the boxes over here. There's 83, 82. 84 and 82 were combined at one point, and then they eventually go down to the other unit as they get combined. So this is how I store the majority of my books. Now I also have these size boxes. These are made to store magazines. And I will store lots of like your textbook size books in them, magazines store grade in them, that size books, and they fit really good on these shelves as well. So here's magazine 34, 35, and 36. 37, 38. It's same exact idea with the books boxes, but you know, they're a little bit bigger, and I really enjoy these boxes as well. They're taller, so they work better for my shelves that only have 5 on the shelves, like these over here do, instead of the ones that only have 4 on the shelves. But it's the same exact idea, just a slightly different system that they are going through. Sewing machine parts. I don't part out a bunch of sewing machines anymore. I used to part out a ton, but it's almost the same type of system where I have a box. Everything in that box has that SKU on it. Now, these things have an additional part of the SKU written in them, is they have which sewing machine they are. This was Electrophonic 5400. This one back here was a Montgomery Ward UHT J1930. So on the SKU, it's going to say sewing 25, Montgomery Ward UHT J1930. And that's how I'm able to find those. Once again, as these sell down, we will condense them. Here we've got sewing 20 and 24 have been put into the same box. 21 and 60 have been put into the same box. So they do eventually sell down and get combined as well. Not something I'm doing as much of anymore, but I'm still doing it a little bit. But yeah, let's see. Oh, let's talk about the pockets. This is something I used to do, not doing it anymore, because I can't label these things before I get to the storage unit. So I used to bring stuff to the storage unit that did not yet have a SKU, and if it was small, we would put it inside of these pockets. This is pocket 182. We got this little keychain in here. Pocket 183, we got some shark bite stuff. Pocket 184, we got this guy and a harmonica and all sorts of stuff. You get the idea. The reason I'm not doing this system anymore is because I want everything to have a SKU before it gets to the storage unit. This stuff is now going in these big totes, which unfortunately, trying to find a little keychain in a big tote can be a pain, but I'm also not really listing small stuff anymore. So that's the idea behind the pockets. It's one of those legacy systems that we're still selling the stuff through, and as it eventually sells through, we will eventually get rid of it. Let's go down the other unit and talk about hats, because hats have their own system as well. So let's go down there. All right, we're back home. I got something I need to talk to you guys about real quick, and that is bubble mailers. It is December. The year is almost over. If you've got any end of year tax deductions to take that you need to make, now's the time to do them. Something I like to do is go ahead and stock up on expenses that you're going to go ahead and make anyways. Bubble mailers. I just ordered a bunch from GyroPack. I suggest you do the same. I have a code in my description. The code is Graff10. If you click on my link, use that code, you can get 10% off your first order. So it's absolutely great. All right, hats I store up top. The reason I store them up top is they are much lighter than books. They're easy to put on the top shelf. And for that reason, I like them in the business because I'm able to use this storage space that I would not normally use. I have them stacked too high, usually two boxes. I really like these larger banker boxes. I think the size is actually medium, but also the small banker boxes work good, whatever it does. I stack them too high, and once again, I will combine them. Like this has hat 1 and 2 combined in it. This has 3, 4, and 5. That one has 6 and 8. That one over there's got 9 and 10. I think 7 is sitting on top of it. You know, I try and keep them in order as much as I can, even when I'm combining them. It does get kind of tricky sometimes, but not so bad. So we have hats all along this top in the middle and a little bit on the other side in the middle. I tend to use my top stock for either hats, some of these totes, or just in general bulky things. You know, we got a ceiling fan up here. We've got a lot of reel-to-reel tapes. We've got, you know, here's a new wave oven. We're keeping big bulky things on the top that don't really fit in totes very well. These things like this new wave oven, this lot of reel-to-reel tapes, they don't have a SKU on them. So I just have to remember where they are, unfortunately. Luckily, I don't have very many things in the top stock, but we do still have some, all right? Here's those pockets like we were talking about in the other unit. I also have smaller pockets as well, but still kind of part of the same system. P91 has sold out. P90, we still got a pin in there. P93, we got 1 pin, but some of these, like this one, P87, lots of pins. Now, some things to note, I've learned over the years. Writing on plastic with Sharpie eventually is going to fade after a few years. It is much better if you're writing on plastic, put one of your shipping labels on it first, these your regular 4x6 labels, then write on it. It's going to stay on there a lot better. I find the same is also true for cardboard. Like book 28, that one's not so hard to read, but if I put a shipping label on them first, book 70, your eye is going to find that much faster, much easier, and it's going to be a lot better. Okay, let's see what other systems we got. We've got clothing. I used to store clothing like this, and I still would if I was listing clothing, but I'm not listing much anymore. So you're just going to label each item in a row. 1591, then the next would be 1592. Looks like that's sold. Then we got 1593. Then the next one we have is 1594. 1595 is sold, but we got 1596. And you're going to keep it in line like this. As a box gets empty, like if this one gets empty, I can take stuff from this, which is like 1670, move it to the back of this one. Once this one gets empty, we can take stuff from it, 1739, and move it over there, so on and so forth. I'm not going to talk about that system a lot. I've got an older video on my channel where I do talk about it if you're interested in checking it out. I don't really sell clothing anymore, so I don't really use this system anymore. This is one of those legacy systems that's left over. As these things sell out, we are filling it up with more book boxes. This whole shelf and the next shelf used to be all clothing, and now they're mostly all books, which has been really good. Let's talk about CD storage. I used to store CDs in these types of like 3-drawer containers. And I do like these. I'm completely full up on how many I can put in here. Once you stack about 3 of these stacks, so 9 drawers on top of each other, the bottom ones get really hard to open and close. These things like will start collapsing in on themselves because of all the weight. It's not the best system in the world, but it does good, like utilizing this little 1 square foot of space that I would have here that would normally not be utilized. So I do like it. It's not something I'm going to expound on much anymore, but if I get a giant lot of CDs in again, like I made this originally because I had a lot of like 8,000 CDs that I've got, and a bunch of them we stuck on eBay. But if I get a giant lot in that I'm listing on eBay again, I'll combine some of these drawers and use some of them because they do work really good for storing CDs. Like this drawer, it could be combined at some point with something, but some of these, you know, not quite ready to be combined. Let's see, what have we been over? We've done oh, we need to go to the other unit. We got something to show down there. And then I think we're gonna be done. Yeah, let's go to the other unit. Walking down here. All right, so on this cart, I don't always keep it on this cart, but I just pulled it here to show you guys. This is where I keep my photographs in this shoe box. I used to use like the old, like you'd go to Walmart, get your photos printed. They'd give you these little like holders to keep the photographs in. You know, this is photograph number 8. This one is number 12, but I've since switched to these bags. I originally put 30 photos in a bag, and they are all in there. Some of these are postcards, some are photographs. And you know what? These things sell super slow. I think we've sold out of this box like $800 this year, which is really good. Like if you're looking at how much I'm making per cubic foot of storage, really good, but these sell really slowly. Not a lot of profit in them, but it is another system I'm using, and this is probably the type of system I would use if I was going heavier into this. Have a box, have them labeled, and just go like this. And you don't even have to label your boxes. You can just put like 1 through 50 in here. The next box have like 51 to 100. As they sell down, condense them just like we do with the clothing. But I do not plan on going outside of this box. I just keep it in it. What I love about it is it takes up space. I couldn't put anything else in. I can't get the lid shut right now, but you get the idea. I keep it up there on top of that CD pile. I'm not going to store anything else up there, so I might as well keep those. Some people would say, hey, delist them, they're taking up space, but we're not going to put anything else up there. I'm not putting books up there. It would be way too much weight and this whole thing would collapse. But the photographs is fine. Book lots, I do keep book lots typically up here on this shelf and the shelf down below. I keep them like wound together with this plastic wrap so that they will stay together. But that's where I keep book lots, just kind of like randomly on this shelf, mostly in top stock, like with other random stuff, like big electronics that we used to have. Tons of these boozy bears that we have. Random things like that are in the top. I don't know if this video has been helpful, but this is how I keep. How many items do we have? I don't even remember. 14,000 items. Oh yeah. 13,700 listings, 14,990 items organized. I don't really lose stuff. Like every few months there'll be one thing that gets lost, and usually that's because it is from before when I actually didn't even have a SKU system. We've got some really, really old stuff still in the store. Some of that is going to be coming out in January, but every now and then I've run into something that for some reason didn't get a SKU, or I just made a mistake on it. It's been in the store way too long. But typically we can find stuff because it says sewing 19, and then it says senior 401A, and we can find it. Or it says book 141 on it, and that's where we look. Has this been helpful? Do you store stuff differently than me? Let me know. Reminder, I store this stuff this way because it is stored off-site. I would not be using these book boxes if I was not storing them off-site, where I want to drop them off all at once and not spend a lot of time here re-skewing everything or putting initial SKUs on things because I didn't know where I was going to put them when I was listing them. That's my process for storing almost 15,000 items. Is that right? That seems like a lot. I'll put the correct number up here again. I don't know. Anyways, see you guys next time. Goodbye.